Hi, in this video I'm going to be describing the 7 main reasons why I believe that being given the advice or taking on board the advice of trying to be compassionate to someone who has abused you is very counterproductive. Hi, my name's Rachel and my website is www.feelingishealing.co.uk. This video came about because I was planning to make a video on choosing a mentor during recovery, and the very first thing that came to mind was how not to choose someone, and kind of advice which I received from a lot of people was along the lines of try and have more compassion for the abuser. And the first point is, what does this even mean? And Pema Chodron, she actually has a term which I believe is idiot. She calls it idiot compassion, which is when compassion involves when people say, you know, what do they mean? And really what they're implying is that you should carry on the way you were and allow this person, you know, whether it's in the workplace, romantic relationship, you know, in the family, wherever it was, that you should allow this person to continue to abuse you. And you hear this kind of abuse, this kind of advice, there's a lot of variations on it. For example, you've got to be nice to the abuser if you want them to treat you better, which is an absolute load of rubbish, because an abuser, such as narcissists, they're testing out how far they can put your boundaries, they can push your boundaries, and the more you allow them to do that, the more they are going to abuse you. Also, it's kind of hypocritical to give out this kind of advice, because people are demonstrating that they have a lack of compassion for you if, you know, the advice that they can give you when you're clearly suffering and struggling is to have compassion for the person that has put you in that state in the first place. Another variation on it is, well, it's your job to make others happy. Which I've heard, and in that sentence they're actually making you very unhappy while lecturing you that you should make others happy, that it's your job to make others happy. The second point is that taking on board this kind of advice is very shame-inducing. It's the person giving the advice is basically virtue signalling. They're saying, well, you know, you need to have more compassion, as though they're a bigger and better person than you. I heard some advice earlier and it said, well, you know, when you're writing this this letter, you know, to whoever it is, you know, make sure that you're nice. And it's kind of patronising, actually. It's as though the person that's giving out this advice, they're telling you that they are nicer than you and that you need to be nice because you're not nice without being told to be nice. I know that's how I feel when I get that sort of advice. And they also give this, they're also saying it as though you would have never have thought of that or considered it before, when actually, you know, which leads on to my third point, which is that often targets of abuse, part of the reason why we might have been targeted in the first place is because we're very compassionate and empathic, kind, forgiving, and so you really don't need to be told to have more compassion or any of these sort of variations on that advice, because as well, a lot of the reason why we actually got into this problem in the first place and stayed in these relationships was because we did believe that if only, you know, we showered the abuser in enough love and, you know, our love could heal. We had this kind of conviction. So really telling us to be more compassionate is going to put us more in trouble. It's not going to help. And also the point why I really wanted to make this video is because there's such a lot of guilt involved, toxic guilt involved during recovery if you've been abused and brainwashed. That it's really important to know that this type of abuse, anyone giving you this type of abuse, they're really it might not come from a malicious place, but it's really not going to help you. fourth point is that one of the stages of grief, as you know, recovery is a deep grieving process. One of the stages of grief is anger. So obviously anger and compassion, then they're not really happening at the same time. So if you're forcing yourself to be compassionate, then it's going to interrupt the grieving process, because it's going to, and also a lot of people have been told, which is another reason why they've been, you know, victimised or targeted, is that anger is wrong and all that kind of thing. So that's another reason why this advice is not good. The fifth reason is that we simply cannot decide, oh, you know, I'm going to flick a switch and today, you know, I'm going to decide that I'm going to be compassionate, or today I'm going to decide I've forgiven the abuser. It doesn't really, it just does not happen like that. That is a cognitive process, and our emotions are deep. You know, what is in our body is so much more powerful than that. I think they say by the time we reach age 30 that over 95% of what happens in our life is not controlled by our thoughts. It's much deeper than that. So really what I'm giving as to do instead of following this advice is follow your own emotions, get in tune with how you're really feeling in your body, and see what message that is giving you. You don't need someone to tell you how you should be thinking and feeling, and you know all that kind of thing. Trust yourself, because that is really important to get that trust in yourself. The sixth out of my 7 reasons is quite funny really, that the abuser actually does not want compassion, and they're really, if you try and give them compassion, they're likely to lash out at you, because they want to feel strong and all powerful, and if you're giving them compassion it makes them feel kind of vulnerable or weak, or implying that they've got some kind of weakness, and they are not going to like that. Their ego is not going to like that, and they're likely, it's narcissistic injury to them, they're likely to lash out at you as a result. The final reason is that during grieving, during recovery, that this is a great process of grieving, changing our real view and how we really see the world, and it's a long and it's a process, and we come to view the world and people really in a different way, and perhaps a byproduct of that might be, you know, having compassion. It might not. But when people are given this advice, you should be more compassionate, it kind of, or I feel like this real fear come up that I'm bad, I'm going to be punished, and that I'm doing something wrong if I'm not feeling compassionate. No, like I said before, really what we want to be tuning into is our own feelings and honouring them, because the body does not lie. So I hope that has been helpful. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. I'd love if you'd like to subscribe to the channel. As I said, my website is www.feelingishealing.co.uk. Or if you've got any suggestions, other topics that you'd like to hear about, please put that in the comments below, and I will speak to you soon.